Carter III, because people will pretty much connect that to TNA, they'll just let him be EC3. That's it. But again, it's all because of the fact that even during those final days of his final days in NXT WWE, he started building that character. So in a sense, it would be familiar to a lot of the hardcore fans, and even familiar to WWE fans. They'll be like, well, wait a minute, wasn't that guy here before? And then he was on TNA, and it'll all come together. It will all come together. And again, like I said, even outside, you see that evolution. Now, true, has there been some flops when it comes to NXT? Absolutely. Chris Hero, who's a tremendous wrestler, do not get me wrong about this guy. This guy's a tremendous wrestler. He's one of the guys that when he was brought in, yeah, he had to change his name to Cassius Ohno, okay? And I think he got a chance to do, and I think he was given the opportunity to do that. I'm not really sure. But he changed his name to Cassius Ohno. And you take a look at the fact that he had opportunity in this company. He was on the verge of probably becoming a big babyface for him, but he didn't want to follow through on certain things. I think it's because, in a sense, there are some people that will go into NXT, will become part of WWE, sign that contract and all that, but they'll notice that they're very limited to what they can do because they're so used to doing things their way outside of WWE that now they're part of it, they're kind of limited, and maybe he felt that way. I'm sure if he looks at NXT now, which I'm sure he's taking a double look at, I'm sure he might be thinking, you know what, maybe I should reconsider a second chance at that. Maybe I ought to, call up and, put my pride aside and apologize for my actions and follow through for what they wanted me to do. I mean, here's what I believe. I believe NXT will see another coming of Cassius Ohno, Chris Hero again. But this time he will come in as Chris Hero. Believe me, I think that's what's going to happen. Now, again though, you take a look at how far this brand has come from what it was originally to what it is now, and it's just a huge surprise. It's just a huge evolution that I don't think anybody would have predicted. Nobody would have predicted it. I mean, 2012, they crowned the first NXT champion in a guy that was the last FCW champion, Seth Rollins. And now look at him. He's the WWE World Champion. It just shows you how much NXT, just from that, it shows you how much this brand has grown. Excuse me. It shows you just how much this brand has grown. And, honestly, I never would have seen this coming. Never. But again, this is where a lot of people say that Triple H, Paul Levesque, he gets it. He understands it. It's like, look, he looks at the fact that not just as a COO or whatever, an executive director, whatever he is in real life with WWE, whatever he is, whatever his real title is, he still looks at it from a fan's perspective, and he gets it. He's like, this is what fans want. They want something that's going to be more emphasis on the wrestling as well as the storylines that match into it. He gets it. He gets it from that old school mentality of what made wrestling good. He does. He gets it. He also understands that people want to see certain stars. But he also understands that these certain men and women that the fans want to see also still want to explore their options. Which is why you had guys like Joe before he signed his contract. And still, in a sense, in a way. Same with Rhino. Same with, even though Rhino's using NXT as a stepping stone to relaunch his career, maybe back to the main roster. But you see guys like Rhino, you see guys like Joe and Storm, and here are guys that basically will, they have contracts that will allow them, Storm eventually will have a contract that will allow them to possibly, if they want to, go and compete on an indie show down the line. That's what Joe did. He had a contract that basically said, hey, you can compete on the indie shows, you can compete on the remaining indie shows that you have in your schedule before you come here full time. And a lot of people are always wondering, well, where is Joe? Why don't we see him all the time? Because here's a guy that I think, like I say, still has that kind of a contract that allows him to compete when he has to. He's basically like a special attraction for NXT, in a sense. He's sort of that special attraction. It's sort of a special attraction, like I said. But again, like I said, here's a guy that a lot of people, again, this is where people say Triple H gets it. From Deluxe Man to Schleg Daddy to anybody that's a fan of NXT, they say he gets it. The fact that they could have brought Joe in and they could have said, you're going to be killer. You're going to be the Samoan killer. And you're going to wear pink. And you're going to be something like that. No offense to anybody there. But basically, they could have had him be that. But instead, Triple H, he gets it. He understands, no. The fans are going to know it's Joe. Even if you put face paint on him and all that, they're going to know it's him. So let him be him. And that's what they did. Same with James Storm. You could easily have James Storm come out with a different tune, maybe shave off his beard or something like that, cut his hair. People are still going to know who he is. Unless you put a mask on him and everything. But nowadays, fans are so, well, basically, what is they called? What do they like to call us? What, smart marks? Well, such smart marks, in a sense, that fans are going to know just by the wrestling style that it's James Storm. And even looking online, they're going to know it's him. So still, that's where Triple H gets it. It's like, okay, certain men and women do need a name change because, maybe they haven't been, as noticeable as a Joe or a Storm. They haven't been exposed as much as those guys. Right? But he gets it. He gets it. It's like I said, with Kana and Prince Devitt and Kentai and Yuhan Nation. It's like people know about them, but they haven't seen much of what they do in the ring, except from what they've heard and seen on the internet, but they haven't seen much about that. So to them, so Triple H, he gets that. He's like, okay, they know who they are. The hardcore fans know who they are, but the casual fans, they may have heard of them, but they don't know about them that much. So what do? Oh, I know, we'll give them new names, kind of give them a restart, a rebirth, if you will, so that even if they decide to leave one day, they'll be more recognizable to a wider audience. And, there you go. It's kind of like with Pac, Adrian Neville. Here's a guy, Adrian Neville, Pac, that fans were glad to see in NXT. One of the top indie guys in the world. And, here's a guy that, probably got to choose the name, and, despite what WWE could do with him or have done with him, here's somebody that basically fans know as Pac. Yeah, he's Adrian, they can chant Neville, or they can call him Neville now, or whatever. But they don't see Neville, they see Pac. And that's about it. But again, he's one of those people that, like those I mentioned, not many people have seen much about, except maybe on the internet and all that. They know about him from Evolve. There's no doubt about it. But not many people have seen much of Evolve unless you buy the DVDs and whatever. So not many people knew about him. So by giving him the Adrian Neville name, it's like giving him a rebirth. Some might say, well, what about Kevin Owens? What about when Chris Odo was there? He was Cassius Ohno. People knew who they were. What about Sami Zayn? People know he's El Generico. That's true, but even though Ring of Honor is more has more exposure than the other promotions that the other men and women that I mentioned have been in. To WWE, not many people see Ring of Honor that much. Not many people have seen Ring of Honor that much, except unless they had the HD network or unless they lived in an area that had Sinclair broadcasting networks. So they don't really see much of Kevin Owens when he was Kevin Steen or whatever. Same with Sami Zayn. Yeah, again, everybody knows who they are. But the thing is, because Ring of Honor doesn't have the huge platform, well, obviously it has now with Destination America, but because they didn't have it when Owens came on board, Sami Zayn came on board, Cassius Ohno came on board, they had to get these names. They had to get renamed. Yeah, people know who they are. They know who they are. They know Kevin Owens is really Kevin Steen. It's still Kevin Steen, he just has his last name changed. People know Sami Zayn is El Generico, he just doesn't have the mask anymore. And yes, when he was there, people knew Cassius Ohno was Chris Hero, he just had a name change. It's basically about giving him more rider exposure. That's what it is. That's all that it was. It's basically giving him a wider exposure. And it's just one of those situations that when you look at it, yeah, some of the people they bring in and give a name change, like the ones I've mentioned, it doesn't make really much sense because they have had exposure, but not, like I said, not as much as in the eyes of WWE, not as much as they should have. So that's why, even though the hardcore fans know who they are, it's like, do you really know who they are? That's the thing. That's how WWE looks at it. But again, that's what NXT, picks it, again, going back to what I said earlier, that might be a little bit of a nitpick with NXT, but still, those small nitpicks and cons, whatever, faults, they're nothing compared to what NXT has done positively overall. I mean, lately, like I say, Triple H has seen the fact that a lot of these men and women are known. Small promotions are not. They are known by the fans by their names, by the names they go to or go by. Which is why you see guys like Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, if you will, and Samoa Joe and James Storm coming in as they are. There is no change. That's why you see it, because of the fact that Triple H gets it. He understands. He gets it. He's gotten it from the beginning, and just like NXT has grown from its rebirth, its reboot, to what it is now, in the past 3 years. In those past 3 years, Triple H has also grown. Paul Levesque has also grown to understand you gotta let these people just be themselves. You can't change them because you want them to be something else. And he knows that if you bring in a Joe, you bring in a Storm, you bring in a Ciampa, that these people, they're going to have that exposure, and people are going to know who they are, especially if they've competed in a 6-sided ring with TNA. But again, it shows you that Triple H, he listens, he understands from a fan's perspective. As a fan himself, in a way, he understands what the fans want to see, not what the suits want to see, not what PR wants to see, but what the fans want to see. And that's why lately now, especially with Tyler Breeze in a sense, you have fans actually happy that the characters lately have been trying to keep their NXT personas when they go up to the main roster. Because Triple H, he gets it. And he's trying to pass that on to those up on the main roster creative team and booking team. Like, hey, let them be as they were in NXT and you'll be surprised about what you get. So, true, there might be some changes here, like Tyler Breeze, he's going to have Summer Rae. That was hinted at when he would make appearances doing dark matches and live events on the main roster. So, him being there, him being with Summer Rae is, not that new, but it is more exposure-wise, more of a change. Because now he's got a manager. But, with that exception, he's still Tyler Breeze. Same with Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens comes up, he's still Kevin Owens from NXT. Sami Zayn's going to come back. He's going to be put into a feud with Owens if Owens is still the Continental Champion. Sami Zayn is still Sami Zayn. You see, in a sense, Triple H gets it, and he's passing that on. That's why you're seeing a lot of these NXT men and women, somewhat with the women, but not as much as fans would hope for, are remaining as they are. They're not changing that much. The characters, the personalities are not changing that much. They remain as they are. I guarantee you, when Emma gets brought back up, you think she's going to go back to the dancing Emma? No, she's going to be the Emma you see in NXT now. She's going to be the nasty girl Emma. She's going to be the mean girl Emma. You think when Asuka gets brought up to the main roster, and eventually she will, you think she's going to be given a new name or new personality? No, she's going to be Asuka. And all because Triple H, he gets it, not just NXT, not just in NXT, but when they get brought up, he gets it and he's passing it on. That's why lately you've seen a lot of these men and women still be what they were in NXT in a sense. True, does the booking not help sometimes? Not really. But lately, obviously, they've been trying to make up for that. Excuse me there. But again, obviously they've been trying to make up for that. And to me, I think it's working. True, there's still some improvement booking-wise and creative-wise that needs to be improved. But the positive is, at least these NXT men and women that get brought up to the main roster are being themselves. You look at Nia Jax. A lot of people look at Nia Jax and think, I'm not too sure about this girl yet. With time and everything, and eventually she gets up to the main roster, you think they're going to change her and all that? No, they're going to still let her be Nia Jax. Because they're going to need, here's the thing, Charlotte, she's a tall girl and she kind of stands out on the Divas roster, but you bring in Nia Jax, and this girl will stand out. I mean, Sasha Banks, yeah, people are going to say she's the face of the company, or the face of the division, she's the face of the division, and even though she's not as statuesque as Charlotte, she basically has that it factor. She has the total package, which makes her basically, the diva fans want to see. Fans want to see on top, if you will, as champion. But when you bring in someone like Nia Jax, when the time comes from her to go from NXT to the main roster, there's going to be your standout. There's what people are going to, take notice and go like, oh my God. It's like with Isis. Isis, the Amazon girl that they were going to try to bring in during the Diva season of the original NXT. Remember the Isis girl they were going to pair up with Vicky? It's like, if she wouldn't have, backstage wouldn't have come off the way she was coming off, thinking she's better, a big deal and all that, if she would have just learned the ropes and listened, this girl would not only still be in WWE, but she would be one of the reasons fans would be paying attention to damn Divas division. But because of her attitude and everything, it didn't last. Now, is there a chance she could come back? Possibly. Especially now with this new, especially with NXT the way it is. I could see it happening. I could. But again, that's what this new and improved, this rebooted NXT that's become the phenomenon that it is. It's all about. It's about second chances too. If she does come back, I could see her being maybe potential rival for Nia Jax in the future, because both are big women. Size-wise, they're big women. And both, with time, can be good in the ring. Even at their giant size, they could be good in the ring, and that when that time comes to go to the main roster and still be who they are as they were in NXT,